Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Thursday morning, progressives, and welcome, yes, to the March 6, 2025 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Catch us on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com and catch me at Substack. I'm going to be posting something tomorrow that talks a little bit about what's happened this last week. I think you guys will enjoy it. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get the Choose Views short version and long version, also known as featured interviews, as part of our platform there. Most definitely check out our wonderful Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, driving it home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. Check out our heartlandsignal.com digital platform and do the thing. Share the good stuff with the folks you care about. Anywhere, everywhere. Do that all the time. Busy show today. We will be talking in the 6:30 hour with Juvenile Law Center Chief Officer Marsha Levick. Will be with us. And then in the 7 o'clock hour, Jamila Tremule will be with us. She's a CEO, a founder of Ladies of Virtue. Looking forward to chatting with her. And then Kelly Hallberg will be talking with us. She's with the Inclusive Economy Lab at the University of Chicago. So there you go, guys. Hit us with the text to the 773-763-9278 number. Give us a call if you choose to as well. And you can always, as I say, email me at richard@wcpt820.com. You know, it's one of those mornings, Henry, where you wake up and you go, whoa, now I know why it was so windy yesterday. Because it's a little bit colder out. I think we got up to 52 yesterday. Today it's 30. It was 32 when I got in the car. It's like, okay, that's Chicago. You know, I always say take a deep breath and make your life count at the end of the show. Take a deep breath and watch the weather change here in Chicago. But for those of you who are listening anywhere in the country, shout outs to you and thank you for listening to the show. And I get so many cool emails from people that say, Richard, I caught your show. They may probably caught it on TuneIn, or they may have, wandered into, Facebook Live or whatever source it is. And they do pass it on to people because I've had a number of people say, yeah, I heard about your show because it was passed on to me by this person. So I appreciate you guys doing that. In fact, we all do here at WCPT. And so appreciate that. Let's hit some Choose Views news this morning, Henry, since we've got a kind of a busy morning. Early 401k rates have hit a record high. Most Americans, more Americans ever before, are making early withdrawals from their 401ks, according to the Wall Street Journal, effectively turning their retirement account into a rainy day fund. On one hand, low unemployment and automatic enrollment have driven a larger pool of money into these accounts. On the other hand, higher prices have forced many workers to use the funds to cover financial emergencies. Breaking into the 401k account before age 59.5 triggers a 10% penalty plus income tax, just FYI. But that is, according to the Wall Street Journal, happening. So being mindful there. Business leaders, yep, we knew it was coming, Henry, are reacting to the tariffs. The rollout of U.S. tariffs caused no shortage of ripples in the markets as business leaders assess the new landscape. Target CEO Brian Cornell warned that prices could jump within the next couple of days, particularly over this weekend, while Best Buy CEO Corey Berry said price hikes are highly likely. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce urged a swift end to the tariffs, and they typically have been pro-business and pro-least center-right politically. So we'll see where they are in that space, but they're noticing the uptick. Hiring did slow in February. According to ADP, companies hired fewer than half the employees' forecast in February amid tariff concerns. Why? Because they're holding on to money. They want to make sure that because they're going to pay more, so they don't hire as many. Oh, man, it's not even 6:15 in the morning. they're not going to hire as many people because the tariffs mean they got to save some money. They got to hold on to cash so they can keep things moving forward in case sales go down. It's not rocket science, Trump. Payrolls processor said Wednesday, meaning ADP, that 77,000 workers were just added last month, down from 186,000 in January. And that's actually a carryover from what the Biden administration had been pushing for. Private firms in the trade, transportation, and utility industries lost 33,000 jobs. Total hires were the smallest since July, with annual pay gains, annual pay gains had little change for job switchers and changers. The U.S. releases its non-farm payrolls report for February. That'll come out tomorrow. We may be able to pull that information for you. Target unveils a sort of a comeback. Some sales stores and stock price lagging behind that of Walmart and Costco. The retailer has unveiled a strategy to revive its growth prospects, according to the Wall Street Journal. Much of Target's $4 billion to $5 billion in planned spending this year will go toward revamping new and existing stores, bolstering its private label food, as well as that being part of a plan to move and hopefully reduce inflation-fatigued consumers. So we'll see where that goes. IRS has plans to halve its workforce. The Internal Revenue Service is weighing plans to cut up to half of the 90,000-person workforce, according to reports to the Associated Press and the New York Times. Per the AP's report, the proposed downsizing would be carried out through a combination of layoffs, buyouts, and attrition. Though it's unclear when the cuts would take place, the IRS said the IRS laid off around 7,000 probationary employees during the month of February. And last but not least, Southwest closes Florida and Texas crew bases. A major cultural shift is afoot at Southwest Airlines, which was once known for fostering an internal loyalty that employees chipped in on jet fuel during difficult times. That's how great the employees are there. In addition to announcing its first ever round of mass layoffs last month, the carrier now says it will close 2 crew bases, Florida and Texas. Sorry to hear that. Southwest has been a staple organization that's been a good employer. I've known people that have worked there. A good friend of mine has worked for Southwest for 31 years, and this is the garbage that he's having to face. Saw him actually last week at the airport, and he shared with me and my wife that, they were with some of this consolidation, in which I knew about it generally. He's 4 years short of, all the largesse, the real good stuff. And they're doing it as part of this merger that's taking place. And so a lot of us saw that coming, and it's unfortunate because Southwest has been such a staple in terms of what a good employer can look like. So, this is one of those times where if you know somebody that's working for an organization and they've been there a long time and they're this short, you got to send them some good vibes. So, a little scratchy voice this morning. I apologize for that, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it. It's one of those, and I think that's what happened. I walked out and I knew it was going to be cold. And I checked the temperature every morning before I leave, but that cold air hit my throat. It's like, we got you. Anyhow, progressives, I will say this morning with the lineup that we have, we'll keep it tight. So I will make sure we do that. And Henry, you got a hi from someone. Let me see. Hold on a second. We can't just blow past this. Oh, okay. Hi, Henry, waving hello and sending a hug from beautiful, charming, historic Woodstock. That's coming from our favorite city councilwoman, none other than Natalie Ziemba.
Wow. Hello, Natalie. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Right on.
That's what we're talking about. So, you guys know that in my crazy life, I often talk about music is a big part of the life that I've been able to live. And to that end, last week, a week before last, we lost Roberta Flack, or last week, and Gene Hackman. And I just got notification that one of my favorites, and probably for many of you, you may not even know who the artist is, but you know the song. And that would be, we lost the great vibraphonist Roy Ayers. So we're going to walk out of this segment with one of his most known historic songs as we go to this break. Thanks, Henry.
My life in the sunshine. Everybody loves the sunshine. Sunshine. Everybody loves the sunshine. Sunshine. Folks get down in the sunshine. Ooh, sunshine. Yeah. Folks get brown in the sunshine. Just bees and things and flowers. Just bees and things and flowers. Just bees and things and flowers.
It's Chew's View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, Progressive, hope you enjoyed that. We were, just giving a little shout out to the late Roy Ayers. And I think many people may not know this that are Mary J. Blige fans. They may think that Mary J. Blige wrote that song. No, that song came out in the 70s, probably right before Mary was even born. But that's a Roy Ayers classic. Many of you may recognize it for its original sort of R&B, jazz, funk background, but it's a classic, and Roy passed this week. So just wanted to send that good vibe to his legend of music and all the people that he played with and all that good stuff. So there you go. Play you some Roy Ayers music if you get a chance today, no matter what your music style is like. Roy touched a lot of different music categories. So there you go. Speaking of touching some categories, Henry, I got a few texts from people and some emails that were sort of saying, well, so why in the hell is Mayor Johnson going to D.C.? And I've gotten these over the last few weeks since it was announced that he was going to go. Well, he went like other mayors because the folks in Congress said, hey, we need you to come and talk to us. I won't call it a subpoena, but it was a strong request. So the mayor of Boston was there, and boy, did she drop the hammer. She dropped the hammer when one of the congressmen tried to come after her about violence in the city of Boston, and she said, basically, dude, if you want to drop the violence, and we may have the clip. I thought I got it, but if not, I can give you what she said. She basically said, Mayor Wu said, if you guys want to stop violence in the city of Boston, then maybe pass some legislation that's going to deal with guns. If you want to stop issues in the city of Boston, maybe what you should do is spend a little bit more time passing legislation that's going to make sure that children are fed and that housing is affordable. She wasn't having it. And he tried to talk over her, but she just kept talking her points, making her points clear. And that's how you handle these fools. And along with that, Mayor Johnson spent some time and some money getting ready to go to D.C. And, love it or not, his responsibility was to go to D.C. and speak to the issues and represent the city of Chicago. And if folks didn't like that, I understand that you wouldn't like it. At the same time, and I'll talk to him about this tomorrow, because you guys may recall we're going to have Mayor Johnson with us tomorrow. Crystal Paul from the Illinois Awareness Project and Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics will be landing her little puddle jumper with us. But my point is, Mayor Johnson spoke as he should, and I love his opening. which we have. I don't know if we'll play that today, but what he said was, I'm going to represent the city of Chicago. And he did that, as did the other mayors on this topic of sanctuary cities. And the Orange Menace on Tuesday night tried to, bash and talk nastily about cities that are doing the thing which is designed to help people. And that's protecting them. Because we got two governors that decided they're going to ship human beings off to another state. But here's the thing. Why aren't they sitting their behinds in front of Congress about why you did that? And granted, maybe, let me back up. That wouldn't have happened. I was about to say something that wouldn't have been correct. I will say it this way. The House during the last 2 years of the Biden administration had no taste or flavor for bringing them in. So when I asked the question, why didn't they get brought in? It's because the House was run by the Republicans. And they weren't going to do that. But as soon as they got a chance to bring in mayors who were the recipients of the carnage action, not the people, they bring them in. So it's clearly a strategy to try to demean mayors that are doing the right thing, the humane thing, and that's to help people. So we have a couple of clips from Mayor Johnson's responses to questions that came from Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi. I always reverse that. From Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi. So we're going to put those two out for you right now.
President Trump has said many things about Chicago, including that it is, I have this NBC News report, worse than Afghanistan. Mayor, I'd suggest the facts suggest otherwise. For example, Condé Nast recently named Chicago the best big city in America 8 years in a row.
A friendly amendment, best freaking city in the world, city of Chicago.
Chicago's the largest rail hub in America.
That is correct.
Chicago's a quantum technology hub in this country.
$20 billion new investment.
Chicago area is the home to the second most number of Fortune 500 headquarters of any city in America, right?
Just voted again the top relocator for corporate headquarters for 13 consecutive years.
And it's home to O'Hare Airport, the most interconnected airport on the continent. Is that right?
That is correct.
That doesn't sound like Afghanistan to me, sir, does it?
The city of Chicago is a beautiful place. We also have 20% of the world's fresh water right in our front yard. Our restaurants are amazing. In fact, everything that is dope about America comes from Chicago.
A Republican named Lincoln was nominated for president in Chicago, and a Democrat named Obama called Chicago home, too. It's the city of big shoulders, the heart of the heartland, the home to the world's best pizza. And we're not going to take any slander from Donald Trump or anyone else lying down. Is that right?
That is correct.
So there you go. Great questions. And they were based on here's where some people would go sideways on this. The questions were based on accurate information. They just were. Those are all facts. And those who have an issue about it and get their undies in a bundle, that's on you. And the mayor answered them because they're factual questions. And I don't care what anybody has to say. Those were stated facts, and the mayor answered to that. Henry, let's play the second clip.
Mayor Johnson, there's been much talk about Chicago and its enforcement of laws to rid our communities of criminals, so I want to give you a chance to address some of these questions. First, Mayor Johnson, the city of Chicago operates under 4 sets of laws: federal, state, county, and, of course, Chicago's own laws, right?
That is correct.
And most of these laws are not within Chicago's sole power to change. For example, the Illinois Trust Act, a state law, was enacted in 2017 by then Republican Governor Bruce Rauner and dictates interactions between ICE and law enforcement, right?
That is correct.
And under Chicago's own law, I have a copy of it right here, Chicago is required to help ICE whenever ICE presents a judicial criminal warrant for an arrest, correct?
Yes.
In fact, Chicago has assisted ICE with criminal warrants in the past, right?
Yes.
So just to clear it up, any time that ICE does the work and goes to a court to get a criminal warrant to arrest somebody, the city of Chicago not only is required to, but does cooperate to remove that criminal from our community, right?
That is correct.
So Those are the facts, guys. For those who have an issue, those are the facts. Those were read from the record, from the law, from the guideline, and the mayor answered them very succinctly. Now, listen, I had some texts yesterday, and I've got some communication where people have said, and I just got one this morning that said, it's sad to see Democrats still defending illegal immigrants, illegal imminent criminals. It's a hill they're dying on. Didn't they learn anything from the past election? Okay, I think Democrats learned a lot from the last election. And what the question has to be, first of all, those of us who are progressive liberal Democrats, would you please stop throwing grenades at your own people? If there's a lesson that consumer voters should have known or should have learned, is to stop throwing grenades at your own people. Democrats are not defending illegal immigrant criminals. If you want to have this conversation, like Jasmine Crockett talked about with the 30. Did I send you that one? The one where she's talking about 30 Republicans are running around. I probably didn't get that one to you. Here's my point. Republicans need to stop defending a 34-time convicted felon. So stop saying this about Democrats need to learn the lesson of stop defending illegal immigrants, criminals. They specifically, and the mandate here in Chicago is to make sure that we help ICE when the person has committed a crime. So come on, people, stop doing that. Recognize that there are guidelines that they have to follow, and they follow them. Do you think for a minute that if we were housing criminals in any state, I mean, let's be honest. Let's just talk about this. And this is where Democrats have got to stop doing this craziness. Those are the voters, the regular folks have to stop doing this. What about the criminality of what the governors did? What Greg Abbott and DeSantis did. That's where we should be putting our energy rather than pointing the gun at ourselves. Please stop doing that. Please stop doing that, guys. I mean, they went there because they were highly required to. They stood their ground and they defended the cities and they defended what our cities collectively are trying to do. Meanwhile, we're going to throw grenades at that. It wasn't a perfect situation. You tell me what you would have done if you were the mayor of any of the cities and you suddenly you suddenly had human beings brought to your doorstep. You do the best you can to make it right for as many people as possible, in my opinion. And I think that the mayor of the city of Chicago, his team, and many of the other mayors that had to deal with that did the best that they could. You tell me what a better solution would have been. So I'm proud of our Democratic mayors that went to Congress, sat there, took the heat from the Republicans, and then answered the facts from the Democrats. And I know some of you may have an issue with that, with me for taking that position. What I'd love to see you do is pick up the phone and call, and let's talk about it. Because at the end of the day, we did the humane thing. And I'm proud of that as a city, and I'm proud of that as a progressive liberal Democrat. It wasn't perfect at all. But rather than, scream from the rafters about, they did, the Democrats are doing that, why don't you get in the fight? Why don't you get in the fight? And yeah, I'm kind of getting in some people about this because it's frustrating when people do that, Henry. Get in the doggone fight. What can you do to help? Take the positive approach rather than the Dems are this, the Dems are... No, man, go after the Republicans. The Republicans stood behind a 34-time convicted felon, and you want to get at anybody that's a Democratic leader for doing the humane thing, that's the bigger problem. It just is, y'all. So, there you go. Used y'all a lot. Didn't say you guys a lot, said progressive, said, and I used y'all a lot. So there you go. We have a wonderful guest. And Marsha's probably going, oh, God, what did I get myself into this morning? We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking with one of those legal minds that's doing the good work to make sure that our laws are happening the right way for our youth and other people in our society. Number 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Today, live, local, and progressive. Joan Esposito will be talking to Ben Bahia Tablu, Senior Fellow at the Federation for Defense of Democracies, and Democratic strategist Peter Fenn. Live, local, and progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 p.m. here on WCPT. Yes, progressive, Chicago's Progressive Talk for 20 years. And then tonight, 5 to 7, Patty Vasquez will be joined by Kathy and Jerry Nash, co-founders of Prairie Food Co-op in Lombard, and Josh Weil, Democratic candidate to represent Florida's 6th Congressional District. That's a special election that's taking place on April 1st, and we've talked about that. We got to get that seat. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, 5 to 7 Central here on WCPT, Heartland Signal, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow, we know you've got Karen with us, Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast, Crystal Paul, state editor with the Illinois Answers Project, and, yes, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson for our regular This Month with the Mayor segment at 7:30. So there you go, guys. Going to be moving it along. And all I can say is there is most definitely a need for better review when it comes to how life sentences are meted out, particularly when it comes to young offenders. And with us this morning is the Chief Legal Officer for the Juvenile Law Center, and that would be none other than Marcia Levesque. Good morning, Marcia, and welcome to Choose Views. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You're probably listening going, oh, my God, what did I get myself into this morning? But,
No, it's all good.
Well, welcome to the show. And first and foremost, thank you for the work that you've been doing. You're a career of it. I mean, going back to the mid-'70s, mid to late 70s, with regard to the work that you've done in terms of the Juvenile Law Center. A lot of people don't know about the organization and don't know about the work that you've been doing for decades. So if you could take a moment and just inform our listeners, kind of introduce, I should say, our listeners to you, but also to the Juvenile Law Center and the work that you are doing.
Sure. Thank you. I'm a co-founder of Juvenile Law Center. We started the organization in 1975. We were actually the first nonprofit public interest law firm for children in the country. And over the course of the last 50 years, we have really focused our advocacy on behalf of kids in both the justice system and the child welfare system. And I think relevant to our conversation this morning, we have done an extensive amount of advocacy and litigation around extreme sentencing of young people.
So extreme sentencing, I think people can understand the words, but let's put that in context as it relates to the crime and the sentence that gets meted out with that, and talk a little bit about where there's a major disconnect.
Sure. So historically, we treated young people the same as adults. Young people were subject to the death penalty. And when I say young, I'm going to start off talking about folks under 18, children, but increasingly we're also talking about young adults, 18 to 21. And so they could be executed. They were facing life without parole sentences. We had some upheaval, an upending of some of that practice and those policies within the last 15 years, beginning in 2005, when the U.S. Supreme Court banned the death penalty for children under 18. And then in a series of cases over the course of the next 10 years, really severely limited the availability and the eligibility of young people to receive life without parole sentences.
Is there enough legal support? And what I mean by legal support, are there enough practitioners that understand the disconnect and how they can then be a resource for those who fall into this category?
That's a great question. I think that there is a pretty informed community of lawyers out there. I think because there were so many Supreme Court cases over a relatively short period of time, that I think that the legal community has really stepped up and is educating themselves about the critical differences, the psychological and neurological differences between young people and adult offenders, and why we need to treat them differently, more favorably in terms of sentencing. So it's never perfect. And most of the people in our criminal justice system, of course, are poor, which means that they are often dependent upon lawyers that are paid for by public dollars, public defenders, and there are never enough public defenders. But I think that the effort to, as I said, to really educate themselves and to be aggressive in their advocacy, I think it's working pretty well.
We're obviously here in Chicago, our show is based here in Chicago, but we have folks that are all over the country that follow my show and the others that are broadcast through our station. And the point I'm making is Illinois has had its challenges, I guess is probably the best word that I would put out when it comes to parole and parole being abolished and discretionary parole. Talk about not just Illinois, but states that are caught up with that challenge in terms of how they're determining what's proper parole. And if you could maybe illuminate this discretionary parole.
Yeah, parole is a challenge really across the country. I would not single Illinois out. I think that what we see across the country is really a patchwork of some states do it well, many states do it poorly. And I think in particular, what we have seen with the cohort of young people who were sentenced, many of them for homicides, for murder crimes, who received either life without parole or life with parole sentences, that although the U.S. Supreme Court requires that they have this opportunity to demonstrate their growth and maturity, which so many of them, in fact, have achieved as they have spent decades in prison, that parole boards often are really fixated on the crime. And that doesn't work. We understand that the crime was serious. The whole point of allowing these individuals to have an opportunity for parole is to look beyond the crime and to look at the person that they've become.
So, okay, what does well managed mean versus poorly? You said some states you didn't want to isolate Illinois, and I understand because of your broad base of experience, you see into the dark side of this. But what is it in your definition? Well, does it well and does it poorly?
So I think that, interestingly, I don't necessarily always call out Pennsylvania, where I'm based. But Pennsylvania did this well in the sense that they took very seriously the requirement, as I said, to really look beyond the crime. Individuals charged with murder are individuals who committed murder. They were convicted of murder. But I think in Pennsylvania, our parole board was intent on looking beyond the crime and looking at who these individuals had become over, honestly, decades in prison, 20, 30, 40 years in prison, and a substantial number of them have been released and have come home. When it doesn't work, and I can think in particular of, frankly, not just Illinois, Alabama, Florida, many states across the country where people just don't get released on parole. They have this theoretical eligibility, this opportunity to come home at some point, but parole boards constantly focus on the circumstances of the crime that could have been decades ago and fail to really consider, as I said, who is this person today? Who is this person who's going to come back into my community? Is this someone who, is going to succeed, someone who can connect with family, who can connect with their community, who can give something back? So many of these men and women can, and parole boards often don't give them the chance.
And what's their bias? And I know you said they look at the crime. I heard you loud and clear. And rather than but, are they, because, they're human beings too, are they biased to just looking at the crime itself? And, I mean, what have you found out? And I know that you probably dug in on this, not dug in, but dug into it. Because I'm super curious as to your point, if the person has changed, then what could the parole board be looking at that would blind them from that this person has changed? Is it simply that the nature of the crime and they can't see past it?
Yes, but let me put it in a broader context, okay? And I'm sure that you have heard this many times. The United States is the most punitive country in the world. We lock up more people per capita in this country than any other nation in the world. Retribution and punishment is baked into our culture. I think that's a really important piece for your listeners to appreciate and to understand. And so when someone goes before the parole board, they're going before a group of individuals who embrace and embody that culture of punishment. And so it is not in their gut for many of them to release people. I mean, I say that seriously. What they're thinking is, I'm part of a system, I'm part of the criminal justice system where we punish, where we seek retribution. You committed a really serious crime. I don't think I can let you out.
Wow. That's sobering. So we are the most penal country on the planet based on the data.
Yes, we are.
Not something based on, not based on Marcia and Richard sitting around having a glass of wine going, yeah. You know.
We can do that too, but no, not based on that.
Not based on that. It's based on the data. So,
yep.
So with that, this is what went through my brain, Marcia, when you said that, and I pride myself on stopping to take notes and listening to what guest is saying. But what went through my mind is there's a place that comes from. What is it? And is it tied to religion? Is it tied to faith? Is it somehow tied to that? Or and then so two questions. One thing, the other thing that popped in my mind, Marcia, is shouldn't we then raise the standard of who's on the parole boards? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, so let me answer both your questions. One is, I think that in terms of where it comes from, I think we also have to deal with race here. So, you know, a lot of the criminal justice system comes out of the end of slavery, convict leasing, going after runaway slaves. You know that our justice system is disproportionately populated by black and brown people. And the cruelty that we subjected black and brown people to, certainly black people to, as slaves, the cruelty that we continue to subject people to who are incarcerated in our prisons. Again, I think we have to understand that this is not new. This is something that is historic in our culture. And so when you say, could we fix this if we had better people on the parole board? You know, I say maybe yes, maybe no. Again, I think that in Pennsylvania, I think our parole board was admirable. I think that they did a really good job of understanding. They got the memo. They understood what their job was, and they understood their job was to look at people today and not look at who they were 40 years ago or 30 years ago. If we could do that across the country, yes, I think it would make a difference in the opportunity for these individuals to come home.
And now, I appreciate you kind of cutting to the chase on that. Oftentimes, you know, as a black man that speaks to my reality, people think I'm always making things about race, and I'm making things about reality, not anecdotal things and my experience. So that if it ends up being about race, then it's because of that. Those are the details. Just as it would be about gender, if you and I are having a conversation about that, and I would have to shut up and listen because you have that specific experience as a woman. But I appreciate you denoting that it does go back and it does tie itself to enslavement and post-enslavement. And
absolutely. Absolutely.
And sometimes this is where history not being taught is a detriment to our society because people don't understand.
Yes.
To go back a few more, go back a few more years than that. So, Marcia, and thank you for answering the question in a data-based way, but also in an optimistic way about maybe we could change it with a better, crop of people on the parole boards.
Yep.
You've been involved in this phrase, I guess we'll call it Kids for Cash. Talk about that. I know there's some people that are curious about what that was all about, how you were involved and what you were able to do to affect that.
Yeah, Kids for Cash was a case scandal that unfolded in Pennsylvania beginning around 2008, 2009. It involved two judges, one juvenile court judge and then an administrative judge in an upstate county, Pennsylvania, Luzerne County. And ultimately they were charged in federal court with receiving close to $3 million from someone who built a private for-profit juvenile detention center and also a former co-owner of that facility. They received these funds. The children who went into those facilities appeared before the juvenile court judge. He placed them in this facility. Again, these were for-profit facilities. Funds were never reported. The financial fraud, tax fraud crimes that they committed were quite obvious. The other piece of the Kids for Cash scandal, though, the Juvenile Law Center was mostly involved in, was that these kids were also appearing in front of this judge without lawyers, which is extraordinary. Somebody just has to watch Law and Order, and we know, oh, wait, don't criminal defendants have a right to counsel? Kids also have a right to counsel when they're charged with criminal conduct, when they're charged with delinquency. And 40 years, literally to the day, after the Supreme Court granted children that constitutional right back in 1967, we discovered in 2007 that more than half the kids were appearing in front of this juvenile court judge without lawyers. And that's catastrophic. Wow. Lawyers aren't perfect. We don't always do everything that we perhaps, wish we could have done. But putting a child in front of a judge who is charged with a crime and facing consequences with no one to represent them and no one to speak for them is catastrophic. And so a high number of these young people were placed into this private for-profit facility, some in other facilities across Pennsylvania. And what we were ultimately able to do, we got involved in this litigation. We brought a series of federal lawsuits, lawsuit in our Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Our legislature got involved and our governor and created a task force to study how this could have happened. In 2008, 2009, how could this have happened in Pennsylvania? And we achieved some significant reforms. We were able to really almost completely eliminate the possibility that children could ever appear in court without counsel, made it easier for young people's records to be expunged. For all of the young people involved in the case, and there were about 2,400 of them, we were able to expunge all of their records and reverse all of their convictions. So it was an incredibly important victory for young people, and both judges were, one pled guilty, one was criminally convicted, one is still in prison, received 28 years in federal prison, and the other one actually received commutation from President Biden when he commuted the sentences of the 1,500 individuals in federal prisons who had received COVID clemency. So,
wow. Henry and I are just sitting here shaking our heads at the enormity of that case and the work that you have put in along with the colleagues that are part of the Juvenile Law Center. Marcia,
yes, many colleagues.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Here's what I'm going to say as we wrap up. It's a question I want to ask you, and then my standard of how we can help folks get behind you and work that you're doing. What drives you at this point? You've been doing this for more than a couple of years. What still drives you? Because I still hear fire in your voice and energy in your voice, fire in your belly on this topic. But I don't want to speak for you. What drives you at this point?
Outrage.
Ooh.
That's what I always say. Yeah. It's what gets me up. I mean, there is a passion for the work, but it's the outrage. When I tell you that we're the most punitive country in the world, that's outrage. When I tell you that we are cruel to children, that's outrage. And if there's something I can do to make it better, that's what I'm here for.
Absolutely. How can folks find you? How can they get behind you, potentially volunteer, or just send you some good vibes?
Please check out our website, jlc.org. There's an enormous amount of information and content on our website. You can see the kind of work that we're doing, the places where we work. We are a national organization. We work all over the country. We've been involved in cases in Illinois. Check us out. If you want to support us, we're a nonprofit. We depend upon donations, frankly, to support our work from individuals as well as traditional foundations. So just check us out.
Absolutely. Marcia Levesque, thank you for being with us this morning. Chief Legal Officer and co-founder of the Juvenile Law Center since 1975. Thanks for being with us. We will have you back in the future because I know you've got so many ongoing things you're working on. But thanks, Marsha. Appreciate you being with us.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Too.
All right. Bye-bye. Wow. Just when you think you've heard, then you get reminded that you haven't. So, folks, when I say things like stop throwing grenades at ourselves, help folks like Marsha throw grenades at a punitive, overly punitive system and country. Do that kind of work. Don't waste your time coming at ourselves. You know, and I would bet, just like Vice President Harris for the people, that Marsha didn't look at this and go, I'm only going to help those that are on the left or on the right, depending. And I didn't want to ask her where she lands politically. I could probably make some, determinations based on the work and the things that she says. But at the same time, people like Marsha are the folks that you've got to get behind and support. Because at the end of the day, the more that she can do her work and know that the work is going to help the future of our society because we are helping our children, then that's the kind of folks you want to get behind. You don't want to throw stones at our own folks. And I know I lean on that every now and again because it's important to me, and I hope it's important to you. So check out Marsha Levesque. She is the co-founder and chief legal officer for the Juvenile Law Center. Go to the website or just Google her name and see what you can do to get involved. This is one of those tools that you can have in your arsenal to help people who are out there and leaning in and taking some of the hits. So just to let you know, we're going to try to grab a couple quick calls before we hit the top of the hour break. Henry, can we go to Leo? Is that Leo down in South Carolina? Hey, Leo, good morning. Welcome to Choose Views. How you doing, man?
Good morning. You're going to make me follow her, huh?
Yeah, I know. It's right. I just like, okay, show's over for the day. Good Lord. Yeah.
Let's go from a justice lawyer who's talking about the injustice of my job. No, and that's legit. I respect everything she said, and to be honest, that's why I do what I do. So on top of helping her, I've called it and I've said this before, we need liberals in this job. And I don't just mean liberals. We need decent people in law enforcement.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can make an impact on the ground, and I get to make the decision to not prosecute. If I can talk to a kid and I can change their mind, then that works out a whole lot better than putting them into the criminal justice system.
Yeah. And it makes the job of folks
SROs,
like.
We need more. Sorry,
I'm going. You go, Leo. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. No, I mean, if we don't put them in the system, then it lightens our caseload.
Yeah.
And that's I'm not saying let criminals off.
No, it's prosecute those.
Not everybody that gets arrested is a criminal.
Yeah, prosecute those that need to be. Arrest those that need to be, prosecute those that need to be, and prosecute them, sentence them properly. And part of what she was talking about, which I know you deal with this on the other side of, or not the other side, but a part of this process, that they're not properly convicted, and then when we get into the parole conversation, certainly not handled in the most effective way. But when you said that in self-deprecating way, I've got to follow her. No, actually, you guys are partners. As I see it, you guys are partners. You're partners in the process.
Yes, sir. But I'm sure you're calling that show that I called to disagree with you.
What you got? Go ahead.
I'm of the yes and branch.
Okay.
Yes, advocate for people doing the work, but the status quo of the left, I'm not going to call them the left. The status quo of the Democratic Party is not working. Signs are fine, but I called in when Kamala when she was going to be the candidate, and I said, be the angry black woman. You're going to be anyway. And honestly, it's what we need. If the house is on fire, we don't really need holding up signs saying false. We need, when Al Green got removed, everybody should have been in an uproar. It should have been on TV that every Democrat and every decent moderate, if they still exist, was removed from the State of the Union address. We don't do that. And you know, I know you've seen all the memes about how Marjorie Taylor Trash and Lauren Boebert have done the same thing every time that Trump has not been in office. And they never get removed because we honor decorum.
Yeah.
You know, it's their right to speak out, so we allow that to happen. And that's being washed away, and we're holding up signs basically saying, hey, that's not nice. And
I think that
it's not going to work.
Yeah, but see, it's not a question of us agreeing or disagreeing on that. It's a question of when and how. I agree. Listen, Leo, as we go to this break, I'm going to say this, and people know this. I'm a rabble rouser. I want to knock some tables over. That's just me. But I have to recognize
Let's do it.
when knocking the tables over is going to have the most impact. And this is where I was yesterday, and I still am today. I think that because of the location, where and when, that it would have turned into something that wouldn't have been as effective as the post. Right? Because here's the thing. It would have been great to walk out and do all that. That would have worked. That would have had its impact. I think it's a yes and, to your point. And they need to, what I want to see is what they're doing today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Yes, I would have, there's a part of me, I'm not going to lie, that would have loved to have seen, you know, a number of folks get up and just show Donald Trump, you aren't going to treat the country this way, and do it live. I'm with you on that. I'm saying that and I get that. But I would not have wanted to see that, and then today they don't do a doggone thing, and tomorrow they don't do a doggone thing. Follow it up with something that has meaning, that's lasting, and that's to be honest with you, I would love to have seen yesterday every Democrat in the House and in the Senate out in front of the Capitol building holding a press conference talking about it. That to me would have had that would have said, we get the message, and here's what we're doing today. And they didn't do that. That, to me, frustrates me more than them.
On a daily basis.
Right, on a daily basis. So we're in the same car on this. It's like, do more loud stuff. And do it on a regular daily basis. Yes. That's what we want to hear and what we want to see. So
that's what made the right popular.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
I'm with you, Leo. Listen,
that's what made the worst of the right popular, and we need to use it.
We got to go to a break. I'm glad to hear your voice. I'm glad you're doing well. And as always, thanks for your contribution, Leo. Talk to you soon. All right. Let's go to a quick break, Henry. We've got tight time, 777-663-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Welcome back, progressives, to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Always great to be with you on these weekday mornings. And over at the Heartland Signal digital platform, you got to make your way over there. U.S. Representative Al Green, Democrat of Texas, after being ejected from Donald Trump's address, quote says, "I'll take the punishment. It's worth it to let people know that there are some of us who are going to stand up against the president's desire to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security." So, you know, Representative Green did the work, and many folks across the country, probably throughout the world, wanted more Democrats to take the position that he did. And at this point, I'm hoping the Dems just stay united. And I still think that it's what they do now, in addition to what happened at the address. Also over at Heartland Signal on X, U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota on Trump administration. Americans who voted for the president didn't sign up for this. They wanted lower cost. What do they have instead? Ask the people in the egg aisle. Wholesale coffee prices are up 23%. Lumber up. This is not what Americans who voted for the president signed up for, and those who didn't vote for him. So make your way over to Heartland X. We've got a ton of clips that you guys can grab and take a peek at. And I'm hoping you guys can, share those with those who you care about. As we always say, all right, Henry, thank you, my man, for getting our guests lined up and making sure that we got good audio. This morning is kind of what are we doing to make sure our children are in the process and being handled properly and being respected in the process. And I appreciate Attorney Marcia Levesque being with us to talk about the justice system and what she's doing to keep the balance there. This segment, we have another of one of our great ladies doing work to make sure that our young folks are in the process and growing and doing the things that they can do to transform lives. That would be none other than Jamila Tremule, who is the founder and CEO of Ladies of Virtue, transforming lives destined for greatness. Good morning, Jamila. Welcome to Choose Views.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for having me this morning.
You're welcome. I'm always mindful because I think I was raised right. Do I call you Miss Tremule or do I call you Jamila? It's your.
Oh, please call me Jamila. I love that intro, though. I was like, oh, what was that? He talking about me?
Yeah, I'm talking about you.
Jamila.
Jamila, I am just fascinated by the work that you've been doing, and I love the name of your organization, Ladies of Virtue. Take a moment and tell our audience a little bit about you, a little bit about your background, and then what drove you to create and to design Ladies of Virtue.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I am born and raised on the south side of Chicago. I'm actually from the South Shore neighborhood. And growing up, my dad used to always say, you are an African girl. You can do anything you put your mind to. It's like, young people, even today, right? You take your parents for granted. I thought that all my friends had parents who were pushing them to go to college, pushing them to overcome their obstacles. But it wasn't until my junior year in high school that I saw how some of my friends' lives were taking a downward turn. And at that point, I realized, wow, not everybody has those positive role models in their life. Whether they're a parent, a teacher, a mentor, not everybody has that. And so that's why I became a mentor. I started mentoring as a sophomore at college at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. And I have not stopped mentoring. It is a part of my life calling. I've now grown to realize that this is my purpose in life. And that's why I started Ladies of Virtue. I was mentoring at, YMCA and Chicago Urban League, and you name it. If they had a youth program, I was a part of it, I'm sure. And several years later, I ended up starting Ladies of Virtue October 1st, 2011. So it's been over 13 years now, almost 14 years. Started with 6 girls, and now we serve over 2,000 young women and girls annually through character development, career readiness, and civic engagement programming.
Today has been a day, and this is why I always tell men, step up, okay? I love me some men. I'm a strong man and all that stuff. But, guys, step up. Because prior to this, and if you caught the segment or not, but Marcia Levesque, she's an attorney that's working to do what? Make sure the justice system is right for folks who've been improperly, young folks, put through the system. Here you are, and so in her own way, she's mentoring the process. You, elbows deep, mentoring, making sure that young girls particularly are benefiting and having the confidence and having the partnership with purpose-driven leaders. So in doing that and strengthening their resolve, this is the question that always comes to mind when it comes to mentoring. What do you do when you're working with someone or someones and they're just not quite getting the vision that you may have for them?
And I get this question often. I always say that mentoring is a lifelong journey, right? Sometimes when you meet someone, you never know what they've gone through. You never know what, as I mentioned to you before, I had friends who were growing up whose parents weren't pushing them to go to college. So just because someone entered into their life and now they're 17 and 18 and you could be doing this, you could do that, that doesn't mean that they're going to grasp hold immediately. But if you walk life on life with them, you will begin to see those changes little by little. We've had girls in our program, they start even crying when they first get there the first year because they don't want to participate or not feel comfortable speaking Or we've had girls in their first year that literally told a mentor, you're the type of girl I want to fight, that kind of thing. But you stay with them life on life. You continue to provide the mental health resources. You continue to show them and expose them to career explorations and show them even more than what they have imagined through college tours. You put them in positions of leadership where now they're leading a group project. So now that and maybe in school they would have never been selected to be the project manager, but yet in Ladies of Virtue, leading projects and speaking to corporate executives, over time is where you see those differences. And so I always encourage adults to speak life. Even when you see a girl just with her bonnet on or blue hair, say she's beautiful when you see her outside. You never know how those words could change someone's life.
So other girls, and what passed in my mind when you were talking about them having projects to lead and be a part of, obviously one of your best allies are girls, young women that are in the program that have, a couple of years in and they've made the transition, or they've gone around and said in their brain they've gone, okay, Mr. Mill is right. I can do this. I can be of greatness. So are they part of your system in terms of helping the younger or less experienced girls that come into the program develop and be more trusting and be able to open themselves up to the opportunities?
Oh, absolutely. So Ladies of Virtue, we're all about empowering our girls to become confident and purpose-driven leaders. As I mentioned, we do that in 3 ways: character development, career readiness, and civic engagement. So as part of our curriculum, girls are working on leadership projects. And as part of that, thinking about our Black Girl Rest initiative at our Saturday Leadership Institute, there are groups of we call them our queens, but they are in high school. They will work with our gyms who are in 4th through 8th grade. So girls that are in 4th through 8th grade, they're being mentored by the girls that are in high school to complete their projects. And in this case, there was the Black Girl Rest Health and Wellness Experience. It's a conference that's focusing on health and wellness that our girls in 4th through 8th grade put on. But they were mentored throughout this 3-month process by their big sisters and Ladies of Virtue, which are the queens in high school. And so that's how we continue to show our younger generation that, yes, you may be in 6th grade, but now you're being mentored by a sophomore. You see how far that she's come, and you too can achieve your dreams as well.
Civic engagement, that's a word that you use a couple of times as part of the I guess you could say the trifecta, the 3 legs of your stool of development. Talk about that and why it's so important to the program.
Yeah, civic engagement is critical to our programming because one of the reasons why I started Ladies of Virtue is that as I was mentoring girls, I noticed how a lot of programs, they were more theoretical, right? They would put the PowerPoint presentations on to say, yes, you are a leader, and here are the 3 points of what comprises a leader, which is great, but we do take it that next step where we say, you are a leader right now. So you can go and change your schools, change your communities right now. And we're going to be providing you with the tools and opportunities and resources for you to do so. So we partner with the Project Management Institute, where they're teaching our girls project skills and project management. We also have our girls to identify topics that they're passionate about. So this year, there are topics such as intersectionality, mental health, career readiness, self-love, things of that sort. They're broken off into groups of about 5 girls, and then we pair them with a community organization so that they learn more about that topic. And then they take what they learn, go out in the community or in their schools to host workshops, and then they present their impact to corporate executives and community leaders. And then every year they get an amazing prize. One year we went to Disney World. One year we went to Wisconsin Dells. So every year it changes up. But we show them that going above and beyond and having that spirit of excellence is very important, which is why we provide that additional prize and leadership scholarship at the end as well. And so the civic engagement is critical because it shows our girls that they are leaders right now and that they can go out and change the world right now.
And it seems like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like they then can see not an end necessarily, like it's over, but they can see the other side of the work that they put in, both on themselves and that as a mentor, because they get to take it out into the world, I guess is a way that I'm maybe processing this. Am I right or am I off base?
Absolutely right. And I can give you a couple examples. So this year I was actually one of the project mentors for the self-love group. And this group focused on hygiene, but also really sharing with the girls what does it mean to love yourself. And so the group that I worked with were comprised of freshmen to senior girls, and they went to Parker Elementary, which were middle school girls. And so they talked to them. They had this entire workshop where they talked to them about what does it mean to love yourself, and they talked to them about when they first went to high school, how they felt and how they stayed out of drama and all of that. And so it was just this great exchange of high school girls pouring back into middle school girls. So again, to your point, they got a chance to see, okay, this is what I can do. This is what I can become in the future. But what we're also seeing is that those high school girls then become college students who are leading conferences on campus. So we just helped to sponsor one of our alumni who hosted a self-love conference on her college campus at DePaul University in Indiana. And so what we're seeing is that when we give them the tools in middle school and high school, they then become leaders on their college campuses as well.
That's extraordinary. It really is. And a lot of it has to be, I guess a lot of it is not has to be, but it's tied to having great allies and folks that are there to support you on a corporate level, on an association level. Talk a little bit about the allies that you have and why they have been so integral to the success of the program.
Yeah, so first I always have to start off with my volunteers. Our volunteers and Ladies of Virtue, many of our volunteers are now staff who've been with me since the beginning. But if it weren't for our volunteers who are walking life on life with our girls, our mentors, Life on Life, the volunteers that are coming every first and third Saturday, especially in our Saturday Institute. We even have volunteers that are hosting, like Jasmine Miner. She's one of our volunteers. She hosted our Black Girl Rest event, for example. We have different volunteers throughout the year that are coming in, volunteering their time, and that's critical, and it really serves as a lifeline to our organization. We have corporate backing as well. Shout out to JP Morgan Chase and Blue Cross Blue Shield, who they just sponsored our Black Girl Rest activities as well. So between local foundations, corporate, and volunteers, that truly is allowing Ladies of Virtue to thrive. I will say in this time, though, we have seen a shift in strategic priorities for some local foundations and corporations that have supported us over these last 3 to 5 years are changing this year. So now more than ever, to be honest with you, we need more allies to donate and be a part of Ladies of Virtue.
Yeah, and I'm not going to drag you down the political conversation necessarily, but I think everything that we do is social, has social impact, and as it broadens into political and economic conversations, it's a reality that we live in. So, yes, the support that you've had, we know that some of that may be at risk or because of the fact that we've got some changes in our national administration and how they look at corporations who support organizations that are actually designed to better our community. So that's my long-winded way of saying we know that the administration ain't down with Ladies of Virtue. So...
And I will say companies are already, you said may change. They're already changing, unfortunately. It's the quiet shift that's taken place where some corporations and some local foundations are already pulling back. So I just want the audience to know that this isn't this may happen. It has and it will happen. So that's why.
Oh, no. Jamila, if you're still there, keep talking. Okay, good. We lost you for a second. So as no, that's okay. We're going to have you back. Don't worry. We're going to have you back because I want to ask you a question about two things. First of all, thank you for being with us and what you're doing. I mean, again, my hat's off to you and to Ladies of Virtue. Talk a little bit about upcoming events that you have and how folks at the same time we can get involved as volunteers. I heard you loud and clear when you said that earlier, but talk about upcoming events and talk about how folks can get involved and find you.
Absolutely. So our upcoming event is Fanny's Fight for Freedom. It is another one of our signature civic engagement programs. This allows our girls who are sophomores, juniors, and seniors in high school. So if you know a sophomore through senior in high school, please have them register for Fanny's Fight for Freedom. This allows our girls to really understand the impact and the voice that they have in our democracy. They will be meeting local elected officials, even the president of Chicago Urban League. So they'll be meeting local leaders, community leaders from Chicago, as well as local elected officials, so that they can really understand how their voice matters and the projects that I had mentioned that they have worked on. Many of them are going to be joining this program so that they can see, if you have an idea, how does it then become law? And so if you're interested and if you have a team that's interested in learning more about how to engage in their democracy, learning the importance of voting, not only that, but learning about the life of Fannie Lou Hamer, then the Fanny's Fight for Freedom is an important program for our team.
Absolutely. How can folks find you, Jamila?
Site lovchicago.org. Again, our website is lovchicago.org.
I'm going to say that again because we had a little bit of a glitch. The website is lovchicago.org. And, of course, you can just Google the wonderful organization Ladies of Virtue, and you can get all the good stuff there that you can share and get involved. There she is, guys. Jamila Trammell doing the work, making sure that our young ladies have not only a place to be, but a place to go and a future to see. So thank you for being with us, and thank you for helping us understand better about your organization and the great work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, you too.
All right, bye now. Henry. Ladies are driving that truck, boy, I tell you. I mean, it's exciting. Puts a big smile on my face. Check them out, guys. It's www.lovchicago.org, Ladies of Virtue. And I think that, as she said, the volunteer part of their program has been one of the tools that have allowed them to grow and sustain. And given the fact that we've got, monies that are going to be pulled and as she said, are already happening, we want to do our best to help organizations like that. Let's see. I don't know. We should let's just grab one quick call before we go to break. Let's go to Max. Hey, Max, real quick. Got a little bit of time before we hit this break. You had a couple of thoughts you wanted to share with us this morning.
Yep, sure did. Yep. So one of the things that I noticed was, obviously with the Democrats sitting the whole time, and I understand that there were some things that they were reacting to, and they should be reacting to, and that was great. I feel, though, that we shouldn't have had more responses like Representative Green did, not necessarily having to kick us out for it, but, making it more of a stir. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we didn't make it much of a stir. We instead, what we did, we sat quietly. We sat with our hands crossed, with our legs crossed, and just kind of sat there and, let these lies go out on public television and other forms of media, and just allowing Trump to push his agenda that he's currently running with his control with the legislative and arguably with our judicial system as well too. So I think that Democrats really need to take a look. Okay, are they going to continue to be institutionalists and pray that the system is going to work and that everything's going to fall in line, or do we want to put some fight in? Do we want to show constituents like myself and many other Democrats that they are willing to fight? It's almost concerning that when they do go on social media and they do put things. There was a post, and I can't really quote it on. It would be something you have to look up, but they put a long list of things that Trump has done since getting into office. It's a long list. and it's on social media. Social media that is meant to be glanced at and glazed over. It's a quick thing. It should be a quick read, not a long read where you're having to take a magnifying glass. Yeah, not a long list.
I will tell you. No, Max, I'm sorry. I will tell you, and I'm not cutting you off. I'm just knowing that we're coming to the break, and I wanted to get you in since you've been holding for a while. I don't disagree with you, man. You need to. I shouldn't say you need to. Hopefully, you understand, and other folks understand. I am built that way. I'm built to make noise and to let it be known. I hear you and so many other people loud and clear. At this point, I think what we would like to have seen and what we didn't see, I'm with you. At this point, the Dems have to take Tuesday night and use it as a time to collectively present their strength. That's what I don't want to see them miss. Given that Tuesday night was Tuesday night, they can't miss that opportunity, and I'm hoping that they won't. So I know hope's not a strategy, but they need to not miss this opportunity to collectively come together and show the strength and the unity of the party, because that's what so many people like yourself are simply asking for: unity, strength, and a little bit of pressure. So. Appreciate you, Max.
Yeah, and maybe talk to some people as well too. Like get their own version of a town hall and actually hear from Democrats and hear what the people are expecting and hear because we elected them and we elected them for the reasons that they campaign on. And we're seeing now, and this is an unprecedented time for sure. But we definitely need to see more, and just this poor response and whatnot, and just everybody all over the place and doing their own different thing. That's why I'm saying it's disappointing.
That's why I'm saying that they have to collectively come together, and there has to be a unified message. So, Max, it sounds like you're driving, so be careful, my man, and appreciate your contribution. But I hear what you're saying loud and clear. Be safe, Max. Thanks for the call.
I appreciate everything you do, Richard. I really do. I appreciate it. Keep it up.
All right, man. Stay safe. Thanks for the contribution. All right, guys, with that, we're going to hit a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views. We'll be right back.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. And even if you're not a progressive, if you're a moderate, or if you're a little bit further to the right, our goal is to pull you gently to our side. That little pull you feel on your ear, yeah, that's me and other progressives trying to say, wake up. Wake up. It's okay to be woke, even though Donald Trump said on a national address to the world, to the country, but to the world, that we're getting rid of woke. That's insane. But that's who, half of this country elected. And we got to deal with it. We had to deal with it working together. I appreciate what both Leo and Max had to say about say it a little bit louder. There was a phrase, there was a call to arms back in the 60s and 70s, and it was part of a song written by James Brown. The song was "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud." The reason I mention that is we need to say it loud. We're progressives and we're proud. And so the legacy of that message is pertinent today. We've had a great morning of women who are just taking charge and leading and providing our youth with a path forward and helping them understand that there are people out here to support them and be in their corner. And with us this morning is yet another one of these great women who are just doing the work. It's Scientific Director of Inclusive Economy Lab at the University of Chicago's Urban Labs, none other than Kelly Hallberg. Good morning, Kelly, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. Can you hear me okay?
I can. You can hear me?
Yeah, a little bit of an echo, but we can hear you fairly well. Are we good, Henry, with that? Yeah, a little bit of an echo, Kelly. So if you got us on speakerphone, maybe put us on your direct set, just because I want what you have to say. I want people to hear. So,
gotcha.
All right. So let's just dive in. Kelly Hallberg, tell us a little bit about you and tell us more specifically about the Economy Lab. And then we're going to get into a little bit about some of the things that you're working on with mentorship.
Absolutely. So I am the scientific director of the Inclusive Economy Lab at the University of Chicago. And we are one of 5 urban labs, which are all a part of the Harris School of Public Policy. And the study that we're going to talk about today is actually in partnership with the Crime Lab, which is one of the other 5 labs. But all of the labs have a really similar model, which is we work with nonprofit leaders, policymakers to identify programs and policies that are really promising. But we don't just take their word for it. We test them really, really rigorously as we can. And then when we find things that work, we work with those same policymakers, those same nonprofit leaders to scale them so they can reach more people. So the program I'm going to talk to you about today is one of those examples of a program that is actually making a really big difference for young people.
So are there 4 or 5 labs in total?
There are 5 labs.
There are 5 labs. Okay. No. I was just listen, let me make sure I'm right here. So tell us what labs are and what they're generically or broadly designed to do.
Yeah, so we're really a partner with government, with nonprofits, and we're really designed to figure out what works. So, I think you can think like there's been a lot of talk recently about efficiency in government, but I think we have a different take on what efficiency is, and we're really trying to figure out, if we look at the data, if we look at the evidence, if we talk to people on the ground, what are the things that are actually moving the difference, and that, moving the needle and making a difference in people's lives. And those are the things that we should be putting more resources into and expanding. And so our lab is really to be that critical partner and help figuring out what's working, what's not working, and where do you double down to make a difference in community.
Got it. So Choose to Change. Let's talk about that. That's been a big part of your work in recent times. So help our audience understand what it is and what the objectives are.
Yeah, so Choose to Change is a really innovative program that combines both near-peer mentoring, so mentors that come from similar backgrounds, similar neighborhoods to the young people that they're working with, and it combines the support that those folks offer with group-based trauma-informed cognitive behavioral therapy. So what that means in practical reality is a young person is identified by someone at their school, someone that they're working with in a community organization, as someone who might need a little bit more support. And so they'll be assigned a mentor who will do what we call relentless strengths-based engagement. So they are going to reach out to this person, the young person, and they're not going to start from a place of deficit, but a place of strength. So they're going to say, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? And then they're going to help them identify, okay, well, what are the barriers to those goals, and how can we support you in getting there? Once they build up that really strong relationship with young people, they start to engage them in these group-based trauma-informed cognitive behavioral therapy groups. And that sounds really fancy, but basically what it is a bunch of young people sitting together, learning tools that are trauma-informed to help them manage triggers, stress, things that come up in their lives. And, they talk about their own experiences. They identify how they might respond differently to situations that come up. And then that's reinforced in practice over time in their conversations with their mentors, as they engage. And the mentor continues to work with them long term. They provide 24/7 crisis support, basic necessities. They connect them with social services when necessary, and really provide them a lot of opportunities for growth. So this is a 6-month program, but it's really intensive and provides the young people with a lot of support.
One of the things that is and thank you for breaking that down, because one of the things, Kelly, that I know you see is, and the phrase that's been out there longer than you and I both have been alive, get our children at a young age. And they could be in a family with, they've got mom and dad both in their lives, and the economics are strong. I mean, on and on and on. But get them young, because that's where we're going to have the most amount of lasting impact. And I know you're seeing that, or you see that in your program. The younger that you're able to impact the lives with these scientific tools and mentoring, the more lasting the program, or not the program, but more lasting the effect on the children is. And that's common sense, but talk a little bit about that.
I think that's absolutely true. And we know from a lot of research, both the research that we've done and, that other folks have done, that early engagement is really important. But I think it's also important to sort of yes, we should be investing in early education and when young people are very young, because those dividends really pay off. But it also doesn't mean that it's too late once these young people get to high school. So the young people in the program that we're talking about are between the ages of 13 and 18. And we still find that interacting with young people and providing them supports can really have long-term benefits.
One of the things that we had, or I should say one of the guests we had on prior to you was Jamila Tramil, who leads an organization that you may have heard of that is really cool, and it's called Ladies of Virtue. It's specifically focusing on younger women, specifically young black girls. But the thing that's common about what she said and shared with us, that's common about what you just shared with us, is that the more that our young folks can see what the opportunities are and then have someone that's a part of that experience real time, the better that the effort really is. And it seems as though you're having that same kind of impact, right?
Absolutely. And, I think one of the things that is interesting here is we were able to set this up so there are more young people, unfortunately, that could be served by C2C every year than they have the ability to serve right now. And so one of the ways they sort of figure out, of all these folks who are eligible, how do we decide who to serve is they conduct a lottery. And, it's too bad that there are limited spots, of course, but one of the benefits of the lottery is not only is it a fair way to give out those seats in a fair way that doesn't preference, knowing someone or whatever, but it also allows us to really rigorously identify the impact because we track the long-term outcomes of the young people that are in the program and the people that unfortunately weren't selected. And we're able to quantify the difference that this makes in their lives. And we see that the young people who were served in the C2C program are 31% less likely than their peers to be arrested. And maybe even more importantly, they're 39% less likely to be arrested for a violent offense. And these effects are not just short term. So I told you it's a 6-month program, but we find that 4 years after the program is over, we're still seeing a difference. So it's pretty remarkable that it's basically helping these young people in that transition to adulthood reduce their engagement with the criminal legal system.
Well, the thread today, and by design, earlier in the show, we had Marsha Levesque on, who's an attorney that specifically works in the criminal justice system and is founded the Juvenile Law Center. Once children, unfortunately, or young folks get into the system, how to make sure that they don't get mistreated. You and Jamila are making sure that young folks have mentorship programs and tools to be able to do better and it be lasting. So that's so cool to hear that your program is not only effective from the jump, but it also has some significantly lasting impact, which one of the big ones is to prevent teen violence before it happens.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell me.
And having a...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, and, we know that that engagement with the criminal legal system can be so detrimental in and of itself. And so I think it's notable that this is a program that doesn't rely on criminal legal system intervention to reduce violence. And so we both see that the young people are less likely to have engagement with the criminal legal system and reducing violence in the community, which seems like a win-win.
Yeah, without a doubt. So you mentioned something earlier that I wanted to come back to. I hope I get this right, Kelly, peer mentors.
You got it.
Okay, so let me link this to something and stop me if I'm going off the rails. That's probably one of the most powerful forms of representation. We oftentimes, and I've said this before on my show, that representation is seeing a woman like a Kelly Hallberg or a woman like a Jamila Tramil be there doing the thing and go, wow, I want to be like that. And it also is, in my crazy observation, seeing someone that might be just a year or two older than you, that is a person that you may have a quicker connection to. Talk a little bit about all that I just threw at you as it relates to near peer mentors.
No, and in the program that we're talking about, Choose to Change, we call the near peer mentors advocates, and it is exactly as you described. So these are the people doing the hard work and working directly with young people and providing them with that example. So the advocates generally come from the same neighborhood, as the young people that they're serving. They're often just a few years younger. I mean, that's not universally true, because we've actually found there's one of our strongest advocates that works with young people is a mom who raised her kids and then wanted to go back to the workforce, and she ends up being a really strong mentor as well. But we also have, 22-year-old guys who are amazing at connecting with young people. But the key is really, building that rapport, approaching young people from a strengths-based perspective, understanding the value that they bring to society, and being able to support them in meeting their goals. And, I think that's what really sets this program apart, is it doesn't start from a place of deficits. It comes from a place of let's support you and get you to your goals.
And that sounds like part of that approach is to say to everyone, you bring so much to the table. Let us help you take that and take it to the next level.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
and you hear that from the young people when they talk about why the program is so impactful to them. And they talk about how, the advocates have been here before. They've done the things that they've done, and they've gotten through it. And so they're a trusted support in helping young people get to their goals.
What in that space, what are some of the allies or outside allies? I mean, you're tied to and part of the UFC Urban Labs, but what are some of the groups or people that are, if you can identify them, that are supporters of the program, that are have helped all this sort of come together with the five different labs that you have?
Yeah, so Choose to Change is actually a partnership of two different organizations. So it's the Youth Advocate Program and Brightpoint. And it's a really innovative partnership because Youth Advocate Program provides that near-peer mentorship, and then Brightpoint provides psychologists who are trained in cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's I think that combination of those two organizations that, is really the secret sauce of the program and really supporting people. So both of those organizations I would highlight. Another huge supporter of the program has been Chicago Public Schools. So they saw some early evidence from our study about how this mattered for young people and found ways to put additional resources into the program to grow it. So it has really been a joint effort from the nonprofit sector, the government sector, and then research to identify this program, to show that it works, and then think about how do you grow it and make sure that we don't have to do a lottery to give a limited number of spots that we're able to serve all the students who are going to benefit from this.
Yeah. So, Kelly, what I wrote down, and again, I always say this, and the first time you've been on, I try not to take too many notes, try to listen, but it's professionals like you who just say some things that make your brain work, and that is, when you said that about CPS being involved, where my brain went is, we have such a large amount and so many resources out there. This is a great example of it takes a village.
Yeah.
I mean, am I crazy in saying it that way, or is that relevant here?
No, I think that's exactly right. I think it is these cross-sector programs that bring together the resources of not only the nonprofit sector, but of governments, of universities, and I think it not only takes a village, but it needs to be a village. The challenges are big enough that we really need to be thinking differently, and we all are responsible for making sure that the young people have the opportunities that they deserve. And so I think that's exactly right.
Cool. So volunteerism and being a partner in that space, I have to believe and that you won't turn away volunteers or turn away folks that want to lean in and help. How do folks get that to that point and be able to say, hey, Kelly, I'm raising my hand. How can I get involved?
Yeah, so a couple different opportunities. So Youth Advocate Program is always looking for people to be advocates. This is, it's a paid position, but it is, if you talk to the advocates, it is definitely a labor of love, and that, the paycheck is important, but they are doing this because they care about the young people. So reaching out to Youth Advocate Program is one definite opportunity. For folks who are looking to volunteer, volunteer. Another program that I work very closely with that we haven't talked about today is 1 Million Degrees, which is a program that works with community college students. And they are looking for volunteer coaches to work with students to share their professional experiences, help them connect to the workplace. So that's another great opportunity for folks who are looking to volunteer and play that mentorship role in the lives of other Chicagoans.
Awesome. Are there any events coming up that we should let our audience know about, or anything that you've got that's open to the public, or where they can kind of lean in?
We don't have anything planned in the short term, unfortunately, but we'll definitely keep you updated if there are things to let your audience know about.
And how can folks get a hold of you if they want to say, hey, Kelly, I'm raising my hand, I want to direct me to be helpful in the program?
Yeah, so the Inclusive Economy Lab has a website and a contact form, and so just reaching out that way, and let me know the way you want to get involved, and I can think about how to connect you to programs or opportunities. Absolutely.
Kelly Hallberg, y'all, and I said y'all again this morning. I've been using y'all a lot today, Kelly, but you have been a breath of fresh air about the work that you're doing, and that's so important to our youth. And thank you for taking this role on and being part of the labs that are there and part of UFC. And we hope to have you back on the show in the future.
I appreciate the opportunity. It's always good to be able to share a little good news these days.
Absolutely. Kelly, thanks for being with us. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk soon.
Same. Take care.
All right. Bye now. Oh, boy, y'all. Don't say you don't have anything to do, Henry. Don't say, I don't know what to do with my time. And at the same time, listen, rather than throwing grenades, and I know that folks are saying, Chew, the Dems should have been punching back harder on Tuesday night. That is not falling on deaf ears. And I agree with that concept. And the reason I'm making this connection is, at the same time, we have a responsibility to do the things that people are asking us to do. I mean, I should say the elected officials do. So I'm with what Max was saying earlier. I'm with what Leo was saying, and many others of you that have sent me texts. I also want to give you something to do, and that's to get involved with these organizations. Find out how you can be a resource to help them further their program. They're working on our youth to help our youth be better, future citizens, current and future citizens. All three, Marcia, Jamila, and Kelly, are there to champion that effort. If you need more information, just send me an email. I'll send you their websites and their links. But do something with that, guys. All right, let's as we wrap up today. Boy, we've been running hard, Henry. Let's talk to our man Steve up in Des Plaines. Steve, good morning, student.
Good morning. Good morning, Richard.
Hey.
So I wanted to comment on the gentleman yesterday, and it kind of dovetails into what you were talking about today with the young people and the young black girls. And being on I'm 71, being on campus, and it's kind of interesting to navigate. I'm dealing with 20-year-olds and 21-year-olds in a lot of cases. There's a couple 28, 29 people already married and stuff, but they're mostly in their 20s and early 20s. And it's kind of funny because when dealing with the black girls, I gotta wonder how they look at me. Here's this, you gotta wonder, and this, Northeastern's an ethnic, inner city, and here I am. I'm a little taller. I got this big shock of silver white hair, and they got me wondering. And it's funny, they call me a couple of times. They've called me professor. They go, no, I'm one of you. So, it's on a lighter note. It's kind of cute because I was needed to get some information from this young lady in one of the offices, and she was a black girl. Yeah, I found the key to their hearts. I think I found the key to their hearts, if I may say. She had the most beautiful braids. I mean, what the hell? And I said, I'd like to have hair like that. And I kind of grabbed my stringy old white snowy hair And she started laughing, and we're best buddies now. I mean, I know, with her, it's a very important thing in a lot of cultures, obviously. And so anyway, on a lighter note this morning, I thought I'd share that with you. And me and that young lady in that office, we're buddies now. And
the cool thing about Steve, this is one of the things that I admire about you. We've never met, but I admire about you, and I'm going to say it loud and proud on the show. You have said, I am not done. Okay? You have said that if I'm going to be here for a few more years, however that is defined by the universe, I'm going to do some things with my life that, as I say at the end of the show, take a deep breath and make your life count. You're making your life count, and you're doing it in ways that are fulfilling to you, which is awesome. But that young woman, that young black woman, braids are important, and other hairstyles in other communities are important. You slowed down and said, "Hey, let me acknowledge that." And what happened? Now you got a new buddy, you got a new associate, you got somebody that's going to be looking out for you because she knows you're an older dude. And she's like, there might be some things that this gentleman is challenged with, and he may not be, comfortable to ask me. I'm gonna reach out to him and say, "Hey, sir, how's school going? What do you need? What can I help you with?" And vice versa. You're going to be that guy that makes sure that if she's walking across the campus and getting from A to B, that she gets to her car safely. That's what makes us special people. That's what's special about us as people, is that when we can get out of ourselves a little bit to say, let me find out what I can do to be connected with another person. And so I applaud that in you, because when that happens in mass, that's really who we are as a country. That's who we are as a society.
I think so. I think so. And it's funny. I think I mentioned it that in a good way, but black women scare the hell out of me. They scare the hell out of me. It's good scare. It's good scare, like good trouble. And I get a kick out of these young people, and I don't know. Maybe I'm going to finish up and maybe be a substitute teacher or something here. I'm planning on living to 100, so I got some things I got to do. So
there you go. I mean, that's another 29 years that you get to be around and helping folks. Okay. So that's pretty doggone cool. And the fact that you're recognizing that our young folks are like, I'm doing something that is different, and I'm in this mix. And Steve, you're gonna be who you are with them, and those young folks are gonna appreciate it. So again, man, I'm gonna be here to keep motivating you and keep sending you good vibes about going back to school and letting it be known that you're not done, that you got stuff to do. So
I appreciate the support, because I do come up against it sometimes. Like, do I need this? Do I want this? Yeah, and I do. And I get, quitting comes up all the time. It comes up all the time.
Well, just know the lives of people that you're impacting is a part of this process, and that's something that you should be thankful for. And always, I appreciate your contribution, man. It's always good to hear your voice. Study hard, and you know where to find us.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot.
All right, Steve. Have a great rest of the day. Yeah, I mean, listen, guys, this is what we try to do here as well. And I appreciate you all for listening and being a part of the show, the Steves of the world, and so many, many, many others of you. Keep us challenged, keep our feet to the fire so that we bring the best that we've got each and every day. Thanks to our guests who've been on the show. And always my man, Henry, who keeps us on the rails. Take a deep breath, make your life count. We'll be back tomorrow.